Hi. I wasn't even sure if I was going to make a video this week. I try to do videos at 4 p.m. Eastern Time every Friday, rotating between my two channels. I'll put a link to my other channel in the description. They're two different types of videos, but I just am getting over COVID right now, so my voice might sound a little different. I just I wanted to do this just because it was on my mind. I'm gonna try and make it quick though, and just go over some of the main points that I wanted to make. Um, I'm glad that I'm feeling decent enough to make a video. It's only been about a week since I started feeling symptoms, and I've actually been feeling better for quite a few days, so somehow I got over it ridiculously fast. Um, don't know what happened, but I still have a few symptoms, so I'm not totally back to normal yet. Anyway, pronouns. So the first thing that I want to say about pronouns is that I think people don't seem to understand what pronouns are anymore. A pronoun is how someone refers to you when you're not around. So you're really not even supposed to be around when someone uses pronouns. Okay, so let's say someone is referring to you, they're talking about you, and they're like, oh, he said this, and then he said that. Oh, is this his? When are you going to be there when someone's saying things like that? The odds are pretty low if you just happen to maybe be in the room or you happen to be around. But generally, you're not supposed to be around when other people use pronouns. Another thing that I want to talk about is pronouns are not really yours, they're more for other people to decide what to use based on how they perceive, excuse me, based on how they perceive you. Um, you can't really control how other people perceive you. That's up to them. You can try, but I don't think your energy would be very well spent on that. I think if you take the time to look how you want to look and present how you want to be seen, and you look in the mirror and you're happy with what you've done, and you go out into society, at that point your work is done. If someone shares an opinion on how you look, it's up to you if you want to consider what they said or just dismiss it, but definitely don't internalize it and then become fearful and then think you have to change. And certainly don't go out expecting people to just shower you with compliments and validate the way you've chosen to present yourself. As long as you're happy with it, that really is all that matters. And if you are not happy with the way you look and you go outside and you're around other people, don't just expect other people to see you the way that you wished you would have dressed. You know, if you didn't dress that way or you were having a bad hair day and you didn't comb your hair the way you wanted it or whatever, you have to acknowledge that people are going to see what you actually look like. They're not going to see what you wish you would have looked like. So it's just you're just going to have to be okay with this. One of the biggest issues I think people have in general is that we don't know how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And this goes for all political perspectives, whether you're on the left or the right. People are not comfortable being uncomfortable. People are obsessed with maintaining their comfort zone. And this is why we still have issues on both sides. This is why we haven't, finally just come together to have a resolution and figure it out. I really wish that there were not two political parties. I wish that we could just have the ability to come together as a society, as a people, and just figure out what the best solutions are to our problems. But we love conflict. And with these two political party systems, we're never going to actually get anywhere. It's just going to always be, my views oppose your views, and my side makes more sense, and the guy I like makes more sense than the guy I don't like, and just it's never going to get anywhere. And that's why it hasn't gotten us anywhere. It's been how many years of this in the US, and it's just like what, you know, the same issues circling around, just the same issues with a slightly different, slightly changed over the years, but we really haven't gotten anywhere or made any real progress. If anything, things have gotten worse. So I'm not going to get into that right now, but I just want to address this specific political issue, which is pronouns, and I also wanted to talk a little bit about neopronouns. First of all, this is ridiculous. Neopronouns, for those of you who don't know, are pronouns other than he, him, and she, her. That they're pretty much just words that people have straight up invented. And I don't know if it includes they, them. I don't know if they, them falls under the neo pronoun category. But either way, I think this is a lot to ask someone else. We have to be realistic about what we're asking of other people. And I'll give you an example. It is not a matter of treating me with respect if I walk up to you and tell you that I need you to refer to me as Barbarbin Farbaliarp Squiarsha Baduz Mafeeble Badoob Nash Bayu Sashicalness Boosquidicalness Mashuz Mayus every time you want to refer to me. That would be insane. That would be me asking something obnoxious of you. And it would not be rude or disrespectful of you to just say, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I have said the word that I just said multiple times to multiple people, and they cannot for the life of them repeat it the same way. Only my friend, who I've known since I was a kid, can do that. And she has, she had like heard it when she was young, and it's just a word that I made up. I say it the same every time, and I would never expect someone else to say it. Imagine if I said, every time you talk about me, or maybe it was my name, imagine if I just said, when you say my name, I don't want you to say Tristan anymore. I want you to say Barbarvin Farbaliarp Squiarsha Baduz Mafeeble Badoop Nash Bayu Sashicalness Boosquidicalness Mashuz Mayus. Why would I ever expect someone to do that? They call for me and that's what they say. That would be insane. So just to put this in perspective, try to understand when you are asking something insane of someone, and don't judge their character if they don't want to do it. If someone asked me to do that, with no shame, I would just say, no, just no, I'm not doing it. It's not going to happen. And if they tried to tell me that I was a bad friend or a bad person or that I was disrespecting them, I would say, get a grip. Think about what you just asked me to do, and let me know when you've come back to reality. Because I have a right to maintain my dignity. I have a right to feel how I feel and think what I think. And I shouldn't have to just, you know, um, pander and cater to everyone just because they're not comfortable being uncomfortable. Personally, I have no interest in controlling how other people perceive me. My interest in that does not extend beyond how I dress and how I present myself. Beyond that, you can see me however you want to see me. You can think of me whatever you want to think of me. I don't have a right to control you. I don't have a right to judge you for how you just happen to see me. Um, and if you want to refer to me with he, him, or she, her, or whatever you want to do, that's your business. They're not my pronouns, they're yours to use when referring to me. I don't care. And nobody should. And I'm sorry to tell you, all you non binary people and they, them pronoun users, if you don't tell someone that your pronouns are they, them, no one is ever going to use they, them pronouns when referring to you unless they don't know who you are. The only time people use they, them pronouns is when referring to an unknown person. Like, let's say the phone rings and somebody answers, and then the person keeps saying interesting things like, oh, yeah, okay, wow. And then they hang up. You might want to say, hey, who was that? What did they want? you know? Um, and if you just find something of someone's, maybe you just find someone's wallet. Um, you could say, whose wallet is this? I wonder if this is theirs, and you could just point at a person whose face you can't see and you can't tell if it's a man or a woman. I don't know. You get what I mean. There are situations where you can use they them pronouns to refer to an unspecified person. But if you actually know who someone is, you look at them, you see their face, it's very likely that you're going to be able to tell what their biological gender is. And your brain, just because of, the way that things are, it's gonna want to use he, him, or she, her pronouns based on what you see when you look at them. Now, some situations, you might see someone, maybe a man, who you can kind of tell is a man, but they're clearly trying to present as a woman. I mean, they've got makeup, they've got long hair, they're dressed like everything. In that case, you've got two opposing ideas in your head at the same time. You've got the idea that you think it's a man, but it's also pretty clear that this person is trying to present as a woman. So you might use she, her pronouns. In that case, you might want to ask, you know, how that person wants to present. And that's okay too. It's okay to be curious. It's okay to ask people, but within reason. You know, you wouldn't ask that person and then they would be like, "Oh, my pronouns are dragon's ear," and I'm actually a dragon. I'm not really a human being at all. In that case, I'd say, "Okay, never mind," and I'd just turn around. I think it is good to be respectful of trans people, trans men, trans women, but the whole non-binary spectrum, I think, should be reserved for your own personal identity. I don't care if you're non-binary. It's totally cool. I understand that not everyone is going to fall into this category. It's my own personal belief that we're all just sort of light blobs, just orbs in a meat suit. And it's all very easily changed. I think that we can change our bodies even in this life, and I think that in many past reincarnations, we've been many different um, genders, even sometimes animals, and that's okay. You know, we change, but it's still the same soul underneath it. And again, this is just my beliefs. You don't have to believe anything that you don't want to believe, but just for the sake of sharing my understanding of this, which really is the whole point of this video, I think it's important to know that you are always going to be changing and different. So it's okay to embrace different identities and try to figure out different aspects of who you are. But you just don't want to forget why you're doing it. It should be about liberating yourself. It should be about making you feel free, like you really know who you are and how you want to be perceived. And you should feel liberated when you've, discovered your identity more. But there's too much pressure from society for people to really be doing it for that reason. People do it out of spite for society. People do it out of pressure. People do it to conform. Ironically, it's become conforming to be a nonconformist. It's become cool to be a weirdo. All sorts of strange things are going on nowadays. I can't even figure it out. But because it seems like an oxymoron that being weird is normal, but all these things that used to represent freedom and liberation are now sort of taken over by the media and capitalism, and they're becoming popular, and people are marketing off of it. So it's just turned into a new way to control people, which is unfortunate. So just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, that it's really about you and your own liberation. And if you figure out that you don't really fall into the category of man or woman, I mean, I get that. Like, when I think of myself, I don't really feel like I represent what is thought of as masculinity in men. And I also don't feel like I represent femininity in women. I believe that everyone has masculine and feminine energies in them. I think that even in science that there's like a masculine and feminine side of your body, but I think that with these two different energies, masculine and feminine, we sometimes find that we are more one than the other, and sometimes we find that we really are just kind of neither. It's just sort of a balance between the two. Um, and in that case, your gender doesn't really matter. You don't have to think of yourself as a man or a woman. You're just you. Your gender is your name, and that's okay. You don't even have to call yourself non-binary. I think the whole idea of not having a gender should mean that you don't have an interest in gender. You don't want to talk about it, you don't want to think about it, and you don't want other people thinking about it. I cannot imagine myself telling someone to use they, them pronouns to refer to me, because to me, what that would be doing is suggesting that they put extra thought into my gender. And that is honestly more thought than I've even put into it. I feel like to tell someone to use a certain set of pronouns to refer to me would suggest that I care about my gender, that I have a gender to care about. And I don't really feel like I do. I'm just Tristan. Think of me however you want. Perceive me however you happen to perceive me. I don't really care. It's your business. I know who I am. I know my name. I know who I am, and I don't have to rely on other people to validate that. And I would never go out of my way to try and tell someone how to perceive me if that isn't just what they already naturally do. I'm a lot more comfortable hearing he, him pronouns because that tells me people aren't really putting any extra thought into it. That tells me that they just took one look at me and that's just what popped into their head. And that is what would pop into your head when looking at me because clearly I'm not a woman, you know? And people shouldn't be afraid to say things like that. It's just, reality. Um, I know that the way that people have dressed has changed over the centuries. I know that the technical gender roles and what it means to be masculine and feminine has changed, but masculine and feminine are not human ideas. They've always been there, and there's gender everywhere. Even in fruit, I think there's like something with like peppers having a certain amount of bumps on the bottom that represent one thing. Like there's weird shit like that. Gender is everywhere. It's not a human invention. And even just the masculine and feminine are also not human inventions. Um, each of these things do come with some fundamental traits that are just part of being masculine or feminine. And not all of them are just things that we made up. Some of them are actually just like fundamental. Um, I think a fundamental trait of femininity is having a connection to something more divine. And this is probably because the female gives birth, gives life, which is kind of like a connection to God. And this is just an example. I'm not trying to tell you like what to believe. I'm just sort of giving you an idea of what I mean by this. So if you actually pay attention, you'll notice that these things are true, and it's okay to just acknowledge what you are. I think for all trans people, you should acknowledge that you're trans. Don't try to pretend that you're not. If you have to for safety, that's different, obviously. I should think we should still have common sense. But if you don't feel unsafe, you should just acknowledge that it's okay to be trans. It's okay to just be a trans woman. You don't have to say, but I'm a woman. Trans women are women. No, trans women are trans women. And cis women are cis women. And no, cisgender is not a slur. It is a way to differentiate trans people from people who are not trans. Okay? There's a reason these terms exist. Elon Musk talking about cisgender being a slur, I mean, he has completely lost his mind. Um, and J.K. Rowling, the two of them on Twitter for some reason, I'm not calling it X. I will die on that hill. It's Twitter, okay? Um, I just I him changing the name of a really old platform that has been referred to in so many movies and songs and media in general as Twitter, changing it to X. If that wasn't proof enough that the guy has lost his mind, I mean, I don't know what is, but like the whole pronoun thing has just really gotten out of hand. People are getting way too angry about it on both sides. You need to chill out. It is not that serious. If someone tells you how they want to be referred to, it is up to you to decide how you want to react to that. But don't go out of your way to be mean. I'll give you the example of, the long word that I made up. I'm not going to waste time saying it again, but if I ask someone to use that word to refer to me, and they don't want to do it, or let's say someone asks me to do it and I say no, there's two ways that I could say no. Or actually, let's say there's three responses that I could give. One of them is, yes, of course, help me learn that, I want to try, let me you know let me do that. That to me wouldn't be right because it would probably be coming from a place of fear and obligation, thinking that you're supposed to do it in order to be a good friend. Now, this falls into the same category as manipulation of an episode of American Horror Stories that just recently came out. Um, it's called Bestie. If you don't want spoilers, just skip ahead like maybe 20 seconds. But I, in this episode, the girl, this friend asked a girl to hurt herself in order to get out of a punishment that she was having. She was locked in the basement. She said, if you want to get out of the basement, break a bone. and she didn't want to do it obviously, but then she was like, okay, well, you're not really a good friend if you don't get out of the basement. Now the context in the episode would make this make more sense, but the point is that she was asking her to do something terrible and saying that if she didn't do it, it made her a bad friend. And this this is the problem, is that we can't just do things out of fear because we think that we have to be a good friend. We have to actually have our own values and our own ideas and opinions, and just shamelessly tell people the truth. So here's the good answer. You could just say, can you call me this? And I would just say, no, I'm not going to do that. And that's okay. I think a true friend would just laugh and say, yeah, okay, I guess I shouldn't have really expected you to do that. It is kind of silly. And then we move on. you know and it isn't that deep, it isn't that serious. And the bad response is you start yelling at them and arguing at them and saying, what's wrong with you, you're one of those crazy libs, and blah blah blah, and you just go off on them. This would be you going out of your way to make them feel bad, or to try and attack them, to attack and judge their character. Unnecessary. That is unnecessary. You got to be real with people, but you don't have to be mean to people, okay? There's a difference. And sometimes being real can look like being mean, especially nowadays where people are a lot more sensitive, I think. But that doesn't mean that you can't be real with people. I think George Carlin is a perfect example of someone being real in a way that a lot of people might perceive as mean. But I think he did it well enough that most people don't even perceive it that way. I mean, you could tell that that man did nothing but speak his mind, and honestly, most of what he said, if not all of it, was just the truth. And most people can just tell that. I don't see very many people watching his content and disagreeing with him. So he did a great job at that. And we need more people like that. We need people who are brave enough to just say what they really mean and know that they're not doing it to be mean. They're not doing it to hurt people. They're not going out of their way to attack people. They're just sharing their honest thoughts. And sometimes you're not going to like someone's honest thoughts. And maybe they're wrong. Maybe they could learn and grow. But they're certainly not going to learn and grow by being lectured by someone who's already decided that they know more and who thinks that they're morally superior. Check your ego, okay? On both sides of this, people need to humble themselves quite a bit. But I mean, really, the whole neo pronoun thing is obnoxious. You might as well just ask me to use your name if you're going to be inventing words at that point. But I'm not going to do it because your pronouns are pretty obvious for the most part. I'll grant you that there's some people where it's genuinely hard to tell. If you've ever seen the movie It's Pat, there's a perfect example. The two main characters, Pat and Chris, you could not tell to save a life. I mean, they just were very strange looking people. They were creepy people and weird looking people. They weren't attractive by any means, but you could not tell what they were. um, and it was driving all the other characters in the movie nuts, and it was really funny. It's from the 90s. I think it was based on like an SNL sketch or something, but um, yeah, anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. So, in conclusion, um, it is not that big of a deal. It's not that serious. It's okay to explore your identity and to change it, but make sure that it's for you, so that you are not doing it out of fear or to conform or anything. And know that you are always going to change as a soul, as a spirit, as you evolve. And sometimes you're going to make changes in this lifetime too. You might want to change your name, you might want to change your appearance, the way you dress, you might even want to get surgery if you want to be trans. It's totally up to you. Just don't go crazy and start calling yourself some other species or another race. Um, and if you don't understand why that's crazy, I don't even know what to tell you. I think you do understand, and you're just, trying to be difficult. Just, if I'm being honest, that's what I think. I don't know how you couldn't understand that. But you know, don't don't just try to do things out of spite for other people. And in regards to pronouns, I think technically grammatically it would be in regard to pronouns. I don't know. I've been learning new grammatical things lately. I just learned that it's daylight saving time and not daylight savings time, which is so weird because I could have sworn, but I just looked it up and I was like, what? Okay, that's gonna take some getting used to, but that's neither here nor there. Just a little fun fact, I guess, for those of you who didn't know, daylight savings time is technically wrong. Um, so yeah, in regard to pronouns, it's another one I just learned from autocorrect last night. I haven't actually looked that one up, so I'm gonna have to check on that. But um, I think you should just accept that people are going to perceive you however they perceive you, and your control of how other people perceive you does not extend beyond the way that you choose to dress and present yourself. And from that point, it's up to others. If you want to control the way others perceive you, or if someone asks you how you want to be referred to or something, if someone's curious, um, just be polite and answer them to the best of your ability, and make sure that you're not, being unreasonable, like the whole bar barban farbliarp squayar shibadooz mafeeble badoop nash beus ashicolnus booz squidijicalnus mashooz mayus thing. And if you want to confirm that I'm saying it the same way every time, go ahead and rewind, because I promise you it's no different. Um, yeah, so that's everything I wanted to say. Um, Basically, it's not that serious. People are getting way too upset over this, and I think people are acting like it's more about morality than it actually is. They them pronouns I'm iffy on, but like I said, unless someone has told you that they want you to use those pronouns, it's it's almost a guarantee that it's never going to be your first inclination. If you've seen them and you've heard their voice and everything. Um, but that's just my 2 cents. Um, Hopefully you found this interesting and worthwhile. It was definitely longer than I wanted it to be, but that's pretty normal. I would blame it on me having COVID, but honestly, I don't think that is why this is longer. I think it's just the way that I am. I just talk too much. But hopefully this was good. Um, enjoy the rest of your day or night. If you're interested in my other channel, I'll put the link in the description. It's called Tristan for You. You can also find it in my channels tab. And I do live streams every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, offering free psychic readings, which is something that I was trained in at the Ivy League Psychic Academy, which is a virtual and in person now since COVID online training. It's 28 weeks. I think it's $2,100, or you could do monthly or weekly payments. And it trains you in psychic mediumship and also discernment and all sorts of other things that you won't find anywhere else. And it's extremely useful. The teacher, Ivy Rivera, who started the whole thing, I know her personally. I've met her many times. She's a great person. She's very upfront and forward. She doesn't hold anything back. She doesn't sugarcoat anything. And I believe that she only shares information that she believes is true. And I can confirm that having taken her course, I am actually successfully able to give psychic readings. And if you watch some of my past live streams, I think you can tell that I'm not just making things up. So anyway, have a great rest of your day or night. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week on my other channel.